Hi Chewies, here's Alexander again and welcome to another video. Today we will talk about how to build and paint while playing your own Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40k army. So I will be primarily talk about Age of Sigmar now, but all this is true for Warhammer 40k also. So this video is for those of you that really want to paint the army that you are playing. So if you are one of those players that don't want to paint the miniatures, just build them up and throw them on the table and have fun, this video is not for you. Or if you have tons of money and you throw your miniatures to a miniature painting company to paint up your entire army, this video is also not for you. This is for the little hobbyist that just want to start their own army, but is intimidated by the sheer amount of miniatures out there. They have no idea what to choose, what to pick, what miniatures to paint first, and so on and so on. So let's dive right into it. The first thing that you have to decide when you try to pick an army is, well, what army to pick. So in this case, let's say we have decided that we want to collect Stormcast Eternals. This is my army here, and this is what I have picked. So first order of business is obviously buy your battle tome. You don't really have to, there are ways around it, but the battle tome is a good way to start your army, to get yourself into the fluff of the army, get yourself acquainted with the miniatures, the point costs, and also the paint schemes that your army provides you with. So for example, Stormcast Eternals are obviously on the cover gold and blue, and it's the poster boy color scheme that my army obviously also is using. But as you can see here, there are multiple choices of color schemes for the Stormcast Eternals. That also applies to every other faction out there. So if you don't want to paint your miniatures in gold and blue, you don't have to. You can paint them in deep purple with white shoulder pads, or in white with turquoise shoulder pads, or in silver with blue shoulder pads, or in red with white shoulder pads and gold trim. It's totally up to you. So get yourself inspired by the book with some painting tutorials, and well, this is step number 1. Here are also some painting tutorials in there, and this is step number 1. Step number 2 is to find your own color scheme. So for my army, I had obviously some test miniatures where I've tried different color schemes, and would a silver work here, like this here, for example, or would a gold red work, like this one here, or completely red armor, would that work? Would non-metallic metal work? I don't know. And finally, I have boiled down to gold and blue and yellow, and then finally I found my color scheme with this miniature. Yeah, it will be blue, gold, and red. So this is my color scheme. It took me a few miniatures, but in the end I have been there. Then from this step you have a bunch of painted miniatures that don't really well fit into your army. We can repaint them later, but now is the time where you really start your army. So at this stage you would have to look into your battle tome, especially right at the back. So what do we have here? Here we have the list for the troops and how many miniatures you need for an absolutely minimum unit size. Also here, there on this side here. And in this case we will look at the battle line troops, the troop choices. And for the Stormcast Eternals, I can tell you, we have a few options there. So, for example, we have the Liberators is the obvious option. This is the poster boy, the one with a hammer and the shield, has a minimum troop size of 5, and they cost 100 points, is a core unit, a line troop. So, but we have other line troops as well. We have, for example, the Vanguard Hunters. They are also minimum size 5. They are line troops in Stormcast Eternal armies. In the general is a Lord Aquilor. So, if you go with a Vanguard chapter, Vanguard Hunters is your core troop. Then we have the Sequitors, these guys here from the newest starter set. They are line troops if your general is in Lord Arcanum. So, and then we have finally, last but not least, the Judicators, the one with the bows or the crossbows, the normal troops. They are normal troop choices. So, same goes for your army. If you're going with, let's say, Orcs and Goblins, your core troops would be the normal Orc boys, for example. And for Chaos Bloodbound, that would be the corn guys, the how are they called? The Blood Reavers, for example. So, when you want to start your army, the core troop choices are your must. So, in order for an army to work, you need at least 2 troop choices, line troops, and 1 general. So the general can be any kind of hero miniature from your line. So in my case, I have chosen the Judicators as my core troop choice number 1, and core troop choice number 2. This was then the normal Liberators choice. Yeah. So, and then you need obviously a general for your army. And my first character model that I painted is this one here. This one here is a Knight Questor, and I got this miniature from the Warhammer Quest Silver Tower set. So, he was my first character model. And tada, I have now a playable army. So, what I did here is well, like I said, I picked the troop choice with the least amount of miniatures that I have to paint. This is now the core of my army. I only had to paint 5 Judicators and 5 Liberators and a hero, and my army is now playable. This is now 100 points, 200 points, 320 points. So, where to go from here? Well, you have a few options when you have this minimum size army. The problem with Age of Sigmar is you can't add single miniatures to your squads. You have to raise them by the minimum amount that they are. For example, a Liberator squad, you can only get them in sizes of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 and so on. But there are other options that you can go with a little bit smaller. So, what I would highly recommend to use are the Warhammer Underworld box sets. These are really great additions for your army. First of all, they have a very limited miniature count. So, for example, we have here the Steelheart Champions for the Stormcast Eternals. They are just 3 miniatures to paint, so relatively easy and relatively fast to pick up and add to your army. Second of all, you can pick these miniatures and play with them in Warhammer Underworlds. Next good point, they have a war scroll for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. You can add them just like any other troop into your army. So with just this box you have made a very nice purchase for your army. And especially for the Stormcast Eternals, there are even 2 more boxes that you could pick up. There are the Fast Riders, the Vanguard Hunter versions of the Stormcast Eternals here for Warhammer Underworlds, and there's the new version from the Night Vault box set with evocators in there. So yeah, these boxes are a good start. Also, if you don't want in later stages of your army have a unit with just 3 men in there, you can just pick these miniatures and add them to other squads. So for example, what I've done here is, you see this here, this is the Great Hammer from this set. You can just add them here. Then the second miniature was this one here. This was a test miniature for my army, and I painted her quite nice up, but the third miniature will be added, just like this Great Hammer here, to a unit of Liberators with swords. So there we have the Great Sword. This is a way to boost your squads with special weapons that you normally only get if you buy the big box sets. But with Liberators, you can get them quite cheap, for example, on eBay with the hammers and shield from the starter sets. And, well, these are wonderful miniatures to just add to your collection of Liberators. So keep that in mind. But every army has some of those box sets that you can just simply pick up. For example, this one here for the Undead is a really nice set. Then you have the sets from the Chaos Warbands here, the Margoris Unholy Warband here. These guys. So, what these box sets also give you is something new to paint, something that your army is lacking. For example, some more close combat troops or more advanced magic users or what have you in these boxes that you don't have already on the battlefield. So, where to go next? Well, obviously you can simply start to paint single miniatures here and there for your existing squads. So for example, you have the Steelheart Champions, you just paint 2 more Liberators and ta-da! You have an entire new squad of Liberators. This is an easy way to boost up your squad sizes. Then here and there you can start picking up some other character models. For example, here Lord Relictor is quite cheap to get on eBay. Every Stormcast player has one in his collection, maybe 2 or 3, and they only need 1, and most of them end up on eBay. You can get them for, let's say, €6. This is way the cheapest character miniature that you can get for your army. Same goes for other armies. For example, the Nighthaunt have some really nice character miniatures, like for example this here, the Executioner, the Lord Executioner. You can get this miniature for €4 or €5 on eBay. You can get multiples of those, even for testing purposes and stuff. Yeah, so getting those miniatures is a really nice addition to your army, really easy to get a hold of, and well, they are nice on the battlefield. They have good rules, and they provide a boost of your army. Next step will be easy to paint miniatures. So for example, I added to my Stormcasts a unit of Griffhounds. Why did I do this? Are they especially brutal in the game? No, I just like the miniatures. So, and this is what I ended up with. It was a really fun project that gave me a little break of the stoic always painting gold, painting gold, painting gold. Yeah, if you pick up a unit of this kind of miniatures, almost every army has something that breaks the mold a little bit, that breaks the cycle of always painting the same. Well, go for it, pick one of those units up and paint them. They are a lot of fun to paint, and they give your army a nice variety. So, and the next step for this army was a centerpiece miniature. So, armies normally have centerpiece miniatures that are really big ones. So, for example, the Stormcast Eternals have their Star Drake, and then the Nighthaunt have, for example, Nagash, or the Mortarks, or maybe the Black Coach, and Chaos has the Bloodthirster, and so on. So every army has their big centerpieces. But at this point in the stage of the army, maybe you could go for a mid-size center stage miniature. So for my Stormcast Eternals, this center stage miniature is this here. This is Vandos Heldenhammer. He is also a miniature from the starter kit. He is a Lord Celestant on Star Drake, on Dracoth, not Star Drake, sorry. On Dracoth, and well, he is a really nice powerhouse. Such miniatures give your army a few benefits. First of all, they look really cool. They are bigger than your normal average miniature. They are imposing. They have some really nice abilities in game that will boost your army to even higher levels, especially point wise. So he is a nice addition to the army, especially for Vandos here. It is a miniature from a starter set. He is quite easy to get a hold of on eBay, or if your friend has an Vandos Heldenhammer over, because he has already 3 in his army. Just kidding. Well, those miniatures in this size category are a nice addition to your army. So other armies have other bigger miniatures that can spice up the painting palette. For example, Skaven, you have your red ogres, or in the Sylvaneth army you have the tree man, the tree fork, and yeah, those miniatures will spice up the game even more. So, and where to go from here? Here you see now we have almost a 1000 point army. This is 880 points. We'll just add one more character miniature this here. This is Lord Castellan. He will go quite nicely with his own little Gryph-hound. With the Gryph-hounds, he is boosting them, he is boosting the army, he is overall a really nice character model to have in your army. Then I have my 4 characters, Vandos, the Lord Questor, Lord Relictor, and Castellan. And yeah, from that point, I would suggest to branch out to even more squads in your army. Boost up your 2 core troops that you have to even bigger sizes. Double the miniature size of them. So in my case, that I have 10 Judicators and 10 Liberators, and then pick up another unit that I could add for the army. For example, another Warhammer Underworlds box set here, like the Fast Riders, for example, to give a little bit more outflanking and shooting capacity. Or maybe here Celestar Ballista I could add and paint. And then you can look into the army roster again and see what other units are there with a very, very tiny unit size that you can really easy pick up. For example, Vanguard Raptors, only 3 miniatures. Well, they bring good points, and they are exceptionally awesome in the game. So, well, pick up a unit of Vanguard Raptors, for example. Or Prosecutors, only 3 miniatures. Well, put them in. Retributors, 5, Protectors, 5, Prosecutors, only 3. Okay, let's pick up 3 Prosecutors from a starter set. They're easy to get by. So, yeah. And from that point, it's just expanding your miniature range, and keep on building until you have 3, 4, 5,000 points. Yeah. I hope this little insight into an army composition and building have given you something to think about, and how to approach your own project. And one big tip I can give you: definitely do not build your miniatures all together and place them on your shelf unpainted. This is absolutely overwhelming. Do not do that. Hide your miniatures away, do them in boxes unbuilt, and only build the miniatures that you will paint in the near future. So you can have a little box with maybe 10 to 20 already built miniatures that are nice, that you want to add to your army in the near future, that you can pick and choose from. Some character models mix in there, and that way you have some variety in there, but overall don't build your entire army. This is so overwhelming, and you will, I can almost assure you, you will never paint them. So don't do that. Definitely don't do that. But with this method, you can relatively easily start your army, start playing with your army, and add what you need. And well, play while doing this. Play Warhammer Underworlds, you can play Warhammer Age of Sigmar itself, and you can maybe, if you have the miniatures for that in your army, you can pick up a warband for Warcry maybe, and play that. For Warhammer 40k, this is absolutely the same with the Kill Team boxes instead of the Warhammer Underworld boxes, so go for them instead. Yeah, I hope you like this little interview, and we see us in the next video. You are Alexandra.